By now, you've learned a lot about money and taxes. You could be an expert. But what happens if you make a mistake? Today, we're uncovering the common tax mistakes people make and how to fix them. And we're also going to hear from our tax experts about their top tips to help you move forward. You know, even I've made some mistakes in my lifetime. When I first started my business, I didn't realize I had to pay quarterly taxes. So when I filed my tax return, I got hit with this huge tax bill I didn't prepare for. But with any mistake I've made in my lifetime, I've learned it doesn't help to panic, but instead stay calm and then learn so it doesn't happen again in the future. Today, we will have questions from Naj and Michaela. And to help us better understand them, we have our tax experts with their explanations.
Not filing your taxes?
The IRS does not care how young you are. If you owe taxes, you must pay.
Filing a tax return without all of your documents.
Not keeping track of your income, your 1099s, your W-2s.
People think like, oh, can I just go back and add it? No, it's already been sent to the IRS, to the state. If you have to send it to the state, you would have to amend your return and send it in via the mail, and it's a to-do.
With my accountant, I interviewed a few people. I asked for recommendations, making sure that she was a certified tax preparer. I worked with someone who wasn't, and I literally paid for it. They got me this significant refund, and it turns out I wasn't eligible for any of that refund, and I had to pay it back.
Not keeping any receipts. Not a good idea.
You never know, bring it to your tax professional. You might be able to deduct it and get more money back on your return or less.
Do not juxtapose numbers. There's a big difference between 6,000 and 9,000. And it's more than just a flipped upside down 6.
Organizing tips that I use throughout the year are labeling every single one of my receipts that I ever get, whether I need them or not, just because maybe I'll use them, maybe I'll need them, maybe I won't.
Flip it over. Write who, what, when, where, why is this expense taking place, and how much it is.
Put things in an Excel spreadsheet monthly. If you get your receipts emailed to you, have a folder that's specific to receipts.
Treat this like the biggest party you've ever planned. What are the colors? Who's gonna be there? What's the food? Plan your tax life so that you can keep more of your hard-earned money in your pockets.
This year, there are no penalties for not having health insurance. There is no penalty for the feds, but there will be a penalty for the state.
The W-4 election process has changed. You can no longer get a sheet of paper, fill it out, and just turn it in. You must use the W-4 calculator that you can find at irs.gov.
If you have any life changes, you had a child, you moved, you want to update that information.
According to the answers that you provide, then your company will withhold more or less taxes.
I'm here with our experts again. Thank you for joining us, ladies, Lauren, Lynn, and Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have some more taxpayer questions. You ready for them? All right, first one is from Naj.
Hi, I'm Naj. I'm 24 and I'm an IT engineer for Vice Media. I used the 1044 on the IRS website and wanted to double check that I filled out everything correctly. What are some of the most common mistakes I should be aware of?
Great question, Naj. And that 1040 form does have a lot of ins and outs, so I'm glad we have our experts to help you with the answer. Lauren, what would you say in this situation?
So Naj, I will keep it very simple for you. Some of the most common mistakes that I've seen are that they've either transposed a number in their social security number, they screw up something with their address or within their name, and then especially if you're owed a refund, make sure your bank account information is correct, because God forbid that money goes into someone else's bank account. It's going to be very difficult to get back.
Oh, wow, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I have seen it happen.
How to get that back after it went to the wrong account. All right, Lynn, would you have anything to offer?
Make sure the numbers are correct for the income or the expenses or the deductions.
It sounds like probably just have a fresh pair of eyes, review everything before you submit it would be the final step.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Let's move right along to our last question from Michaela.
My name is Michaela Williams. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm 24 years old and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I work in video production. It was such a pain to file my taxes this year. How can I make sure that I don't run into any issues next year and that, there are no surprises in 2020 that I'm faced with?
Michaela, great question. I'm gonna hand this one over to you, Melissa. What advice do you have for Michaela?
It's, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, making sure you have all the correct forms. If you have W-2s, you have 1099s, if you have a health insurance form or 1095A, any investments, if you have interest, dividends, anything like that, knowing what you need to file for that year and checking it all off before you submit so you don't have to amend your return.
It seems like you're doing a lot of freelance work if you're in video production. One of the worst things that could happen is to find out after the fact that you could have gotten a deduction. Track your expenses as you go, and I promise you, you'll have a much better time with your taxes next year.
If unfortunately you find yourself continuing to owe money, maybe just sock away a little bit each month so that that impact in the following year isn't quite as detrimental to your financial health.
I want to hear from each of you. If you had to give one tip or one takeaway, what would it be?
Always stay organized, track as you go. That's my most important tip.
Organized. Lynn.
Once a month, download your entire bank statement into Excel, and you can take those numbers and you can import those numbers into almost any software that exists on the planet, and then name each one of your expenses.
Melissa.
My biggest piece of advice is to check to make sure at the end of the year you have gotten all of your W-2s or 1099s. I find a lot of the time that things are missing, and another great checks and balances is putting all of your pay stubs against that W-2 or 1099 and adding it up and make sure all of the information corresponds. You're setting yourself up beautifully to have a seamless filing.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies. Your wisdom and knowledge is very valuable. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure you learned a lot too. Hopefully you're no longer fearful or feeling anxiety over taxes, and you feel a sense of relief and hopefully confidence to go out and conquer your taxes moving forward. I'm Brittany Castro, wishing you all the best on your financial journey.